guys get a gift at the end of this story. And after I finish talking. Now, I'm going to do my very best to make sure. Come on up, Miss Shantae. Your presence is requested on the stage. It's a scary thing to be up here. It can be. But Pastor Sam's going to be watching to see who's being quiet, who's paying attention. Now, are you ready for a brand new Christmas story?
Yes.
All right, here we go. Can everyone back there, Martin, can you hear me okay?
Yes, sir.
All right. I never get to sit down and preach, so this is kind of nice. All right, here we go. Oh, real quick, Miss Carolyn, could you bring me that bottle of water right there?
Yes.
Please? I think my beautiful wife should be up here too. Chair?
No.
I'm going to try to talk really loud. That's why I'm drinking water. Ooh. Miss Dawn, did you bring this?
But of course.
Miss Dawn, every time she comes to church, brings me ice cold water, and this one's actually got chunks of ice floating in it. I thank you for that. Okay, here we go. Are you ready?
Yes.
Now, I bet you never knew that Santa's elves went to school. But in fact, they do most things that normal people do. Like come home from work on nights and weekends and talk on Facebook and play Candy Crush with their friends. The reason I know this to be true is that I have been friend requested by more than a few. In elf school they teach reading, writing, and math, history and science, and toy making craft. How many of you just love school? Come on. You love school. How many of you glad to be out of school? Every year, right before Christmas, the elves have a class to teach about Jesus. Because the class's importance is valued a lot, the teacher in charge is the great Mrs. Gumdrop. The elves file in and take their place at their desk, each trying to sit in front of the rest. But for little Sammy Sugardust, who always runs late, that applies to so many, he sits in the back in the last open space. When Mrs. Gumdrop enters, she begins her story about a manger in Bethlehem and the birth of a boy. The elf children listen on, all smiling in glee. She tells them how angels would sing. The shepherds in the fields keeping watch over the sheep, and how men of great wisdom would travel to see the miracle child following a star from the east. And every year, her story ends the same. We celebrate Christmas because Jesus saves. Then Mrs. Gumdrop, the Christmas teacher, hands out assignments on each Christmas feature. As the myriad of symbols were all passed out, little Sammy got the best one without doubt. He held a glossy photo of a Christmas tree. An icon knew well throughout history. And as Sammy ran home, he was simply elated, eager to find how the tree and Jesus were related. Sammy hopped on his trusty Google search engine, but on none of the sites was Jesus mentioned. All he found were tales of pagans worshiping trees during the winter. There was no tie at all to Christmas's center. He called his friend Jaxie Twinkle to check his progress and to distance himself from his quizzical stress. Jaxie had gotten the poinsettia flower and found the tale of a girl and Jesus' power. A poor Mexican girl wanted to give Jesus a present, so the child picked weeds that were not very pleasant. Overnight, these weeds blossomed and grew into the Christmas icon everyone knew. The poinsettia reminds us that it's what's in our heart and not in our wallets that set us apart. Sammy was touched by this wonderful story, but saddened that his topic did not have as much glory. He bid Jaxie good night and hang up the receiver. How could the tree be a tradition of a believer? Sammy thought to himself, there has to be a reason to include a pagan tradition in the most cheerful season. The internet was a bust. I've looked in all the wrong places. I need a change of scenery and some cheerful faces. So he headed to the North Pole's only library, where under a large pile of books, Lacey Snowflake was buried. He unearthed his school pal quite in a rush, for she was so small she could have been crushed. Once Lacey was freed, she scurried around to pick up the various facts she had found. Everyone knew Lacey was the smartest in class. Perhaps she could have helped with such a difficult task. But before Sammy could even mention the tree, Lacey began recounting holly's history. The plant is so sturdy, its cells are so strong, that it keeps its color and form all winter long. For this reason, people bring it into their houses, because of the thoughts of rebirth and life it arouses. I think the connection to Jesus is simple. Obviously, the return of spring is his symbol. The holly reminds us he will come again to light up the world and the darkness will end. Once again, Sammy was in awe of her brilliance and of the amazing holly's resilience. Sammy told her of his Christmas tree plight. I have not seen in my research today how Christmas trees and Jesus relate. Maybe Mr. Claus has resources you can borrow, especially since your paper is due tomorrow. So he scurried away to find Mr. Claus, hoping that he could help with his cause. And by the time he found Santa, he was quite distraught. How could of all of his friends have such luck, and he did not? Sammy blurted out all of his frustration about this confusing Christmas tradition. Santa sat down next to Sammy to wipe his tears. Then he said with a chuckle, "This happens every year." Although it's true, pagans would bring a tree into their home, the reason we do it means much more than that now. Then Santa began to recall the history of the now famous icon, the Christmas tree. Long ago in a small pagan village, they worshipped a large oak tree, which is quite sacrilegious. When Christians saw such a misguided practice, they swiftly chopped the oak tree down and burned it to ashes. Early next spring, from out of the ash, sprouted a new tree from the stump of the last. When the Christians saw the tree's rebirth, it reminded them of Christ's sacrifice on earth. Now the tradition of bringing trees in has a reason. It reminds us that Jesus Christ has arisen. Sammy was now filled with awe and glee. The next day at school, all the children recounted the many symbols and the backgrounds behind them. Like always, little Sammy was the last to speak, but his tale was the best they had heard all week. After the thunderous applause came to an end, Mrs. Gumdrop's voice began to ascend. She reminded them, as she does every year the same, we celebrate Christmas because Jesus saves. The end. Now, I'm not sure how many of you know the little tales behind just some of the Christmas symbols. As a matter of fact, Santa Claus himself stands as a representation of Jesus. A giver who only gives and doesn't receive. Even his very suit, the red, the white, the black, the jolly little nose, and his cheeks all full of red. All of this really has some symbolism to the Christian story. Now here in just a few minutes, providing Pastor Sam has not written your name down on the naughty lot list, you get to receive a gift. Now what I would like to do is have Miss Christy, Miss Nell, and Miss Chloe go to the front of the stage, please, to get ready to announce the kids' names and their gifts. And as they prepare to do that, I want to say this. For some reason, I keep wanting to rhyme, and I'm trying to talk at the moment. There's a rhythm to the story, and I guess I'm still there. As you receive this gift, kids, I want you to know this, that someone in this church has bought you something. That hopefully you will like it, hopefully you will appreciate it, but more than any of that, I want you to know that whether they knew you or whether you know them, whether you're like me and Nick and always messing around, they did this because they love you. And that's really what Christmas is all about. It's about love, and it's about the gift that Jesus has given us. And so what I would like for you to do is, as they call your name out, I would like you to go down the steps, go to the front of the stage, receive your gift, and go back and sit with your parents. Could you do that? Yes. All right, we'll turn it over to the ladies. And please speak loudly so everyone can hear.
Damien. Norma. Michaela. Trey. Elizabeth. Dylan. Mercedes. Mariah. Zoe Bella. Michael. Bruce.
Not here.
Tamia. Deb. Nicholas. Brian. Liliana.
Now wait till I open up your gifts till everybody's got them.
Noel. Isaiah.
Zoe, Elaine,
Sean. Madison. Here we go. Mariah. Mariana. Which was mine? Paris. Jennifer. Oh, Jeremiah. That's Annalise. Delania. Riley. Harris. Leah. Curtis. What if you don't know?
How does it?
Anaya. Nevaeh.
Don't open your gifts yet.
They do? Oh.
All right. Let me get everybody's attention. Everybody try to sit down. We're going to open up our gifts all